The grand hall hummed with the weight of an empire's fury. Stephen Merrick stood between the Ravik and Kale delegations, his voice calm as he turned Voron's accusations into the musical language of the Kale.
Enough. Set down your current translation. I have something more. Direct.
Voron slid a tablet across the polished stone. The screen glowed with lines of Ravik script, jagged and final.
Stephen scanned the text, and his blood chilled. Every sentence was a blade, honed to provoke war.
Translate it. Every word. Now.
Ambassador, this language, it's deliberately inflammatory. If I read this aloud,
You will read it as written. You are a conduit, not a diplomat.
Across the table, Theris watched the exchange with narrowing eyes. Her delegation sat in expectant silence, unaware of the fire about to be spoken.
if I say these words, millions of Kale will burn. I will have lit the match.
His hands tightened on the tablet. The galaxy held its breath as he opened his mouth to speak.
Ambassador, this phrasing, surely there's a way to soften the delivery, to preserve some diplomatic opening.
There is no softening. Read it as written, or you will be replaced.
Across the table, Theris waited, her bioluminescent patterns steady. She had no idea the next words were meant to kill her delegation's hopes.
She has children. Her people have art. If I speak, I erase that.
Do your job, human, now.
A tremor ran through his fingers, barely perceptible, but he felt it like a seismic shift.
Sir, if the Kale perceive this as an insult, they will walk out. The summit will collapse.
That is precisely the point. Now translate.
So he wants war, and I am the trigger.
The ultimatum sat in his throat, a jagged stone. One push, and a war would roll across the stars. Time fractured. Stephen's training screamed one command: speak, obey, but beneath it, a voice he'd never used in this hall rose like cold iron.
I've seen the footage. Human wars, cities turned to glass. But this would be a billion voices silenced. My job is to bridge, not destroy. Every word I translate is an act of service. But this is an act of murder. They told me interpreters are tools, neutral conduit. But I am not a tool. I am a witness.
His jaw set, the tremor in his fingers stilled. The decision rose from somewhere deeper than his profession.
Theris has grandchildren. Her delegation weaves poems. If I open my mouth now, I unmake that. So here it is, the line. The one no protocol can cross for me. I have to choose. Number. I will not be the hand that starts a war. I refuse. They can break my career, throw me out. But I will carry my soul out of this hall.
And with that silent pledge, Stephen Marek stood motionless, the ultimatum still unspoken, the galaxy still breathing. Stephen's hands left the tablet. He lifted the interpreter headset from his ears, the motion slow and deliberate. Stephen's fingers opened, and the headset fell. The click on the stone was a gunshot in the silence.
What are you doing? Pick it up. Translate.
I will not translate that.
Silence crashed down. Even the dust motes seemed to freeze. Across the table, Theris's eyes widened, the first crack in her diplomatic mask.
You are a translator. A function. You have no right to withhold words.
I have a conscience. I will not be the instrument of a war.
A murmur rippled through both delegations. Some aides recoiled. Others exchanged glances charged with disbelief.
I am not your weapon.
The interpreter's headset rested on the stone, and for a long moment, no one breathed. Voron's fury erupted. His fist slammed the stone so hard the crystal decanters rattled the length of the table.
You are a translator, a tool. You speak when you are told to speak.
I am not a tool. I am a human being, and I will not be the hand that starts a war.
Voron's silver fingers curled, nails etching lines into the polished stone. This defiance was unthinkable.
If you refuse this order, your career is dust. You will never interpret another word for any government in this galaxy.
Theris leaned forward, her bioluminescent veins pulsing slowly. The human had just broken every rule she knew.
Then I will find something else to do. But I will not carry the blood of billions on my tongue.
Voran's eyes narrowed to slits. He had expected a tool. He had found a man.
You are making a fatal error. This summit will proceed with or without you.
Stephen didn't move. The headset still lay on the stone, and he didn't look at it. The silence shattered not with a shout, but a quiet voice. Ambassador Theris raised a single hand, her bioluminescent veins pulsing slowly.
Why would a translator refuse to speak? What words could burn his tongue so badly?
Words that would start a war, Ambassador. I will translate truth, facts, even insults, but I will not be the hand that lights the fire.
This is a private communication. The human is refusing a direct order. He has no standing to explain himself.
But Theris didn't look at Voran. She kept her gaze on Stephen, her head tilted slightly.
He has enough standing to refuse your order, Voran. I will hear the man who chooses not to speak.
Ambassador Theris, that tablet contains an ultimatum designed to humiliate your people, to provoke you into war. I will not speak it. If I read that aloud, millions die. I cannot be that instrument. So I choose silence.
His hands were steady now. The fear had burned away, leaving only cold, quiet certainty. Theris studied him, and for the first time, something like respect flickered across her ancient bioluminescent features.
You have said enough, human. This is insubordination. Guards,
at Voran's command, 2 Ravik guards stepped from the shadows, their angular armor catching the cold blue light. The Ravik delegation shifted uneasily, but no one interceded. This was Voran's domain, and the human had crossed a line.
Theris watched the guards advance, her expression unreadable. She did not yet move.
The Ravik delegation sat rigid, their silver faces masks of tension. Some glanced at the guards, others at Voran.
you had your chance, interpreter. Now you will be removed, and this summit will continue with a compliant replacement.
The guards closed the distance, their boots heavy on the polished floor. Stephen did not flinch.
She wanted to see how far he would go, how deep this human's conviction truly ran.
Voran's fingers drummed the stone again, a sharp staccato of impatience. He was already imagining the report of his victory. The guards reached Stephen, their shadows falling over him, and still no one on the Kale side had spoken. But then Theris rose, not with fury, but with the slow, unstoppable authority of someone who had negotiated the fates of worlds.
Hold. Under summit protocol, the interpreter is attached to both delegations. You cannot remove him without my consent.
A Kale guard stepped forward, energy staff crackling, blocking the Ravik soldiers with silent menace.
Thank you, Ambassador. But let me show you exactly what is in this tablet. The words are weapons. Ambassador, Voran's text demands your unconditional submission, calls your people weak, and promises extinction. That's not diplomacy, it's a provocation.
I see. The Ravik High Council would never approve such language unless they wanted war. You were meant to be their match.
This is a lie. The human twists my words to save his own skin.
Stephen tapped the tablet, and the phrase highlighted in angry red. Ravik Dominion will accept nothing less than total Kale surrender.
I will hear the rest, Voran. Not your poisoned version, but the human's truth. Speak, translator.
The hall hung on a razor's edge. Stephen looked at the headset still lying on the stone, then at the tablet. He knew the next words would change everything.
Ambassador Theris, let me translate the actual dispute, the territorial claims, the resource lines. Strip away the insults and let the facts stand on their own.
The offer hung in the air. No interpreter had ever asked to change the content, only the words.
do it. I want to hear the truth without the blade.
This is treachery. He is not authorized to alter my government's message.
You have lost the right to dictate the terms. Voran, I will hear his version.
Stephen nodded, ignoring Voran's fury. He looked down at the tablet and began to mentally strip the poison.
The Ravik delegation raises concerns regarding the control of the Nekara asteroid belts.
Voran's fists clenched, but he was trapped. With the Kale guards blocking his own, he could only watch.
They seek a permanent presence in neutral zones, which impacts your resource agreements.
The first words of a neutral translation echoed in the hall, and the tension shifted from war to something far more fragile. Negotiation.
The neutral zone spans Carina Margin to Outer Belt. No military vessels.
Theris listened, and for the first time, her expression was not guarded hostility, but the careful calculation of a diplomat, seeing a path.
The Ravik seek guaranteed access to Velor trade lanes with joint oversight of customs.
Voran's silver knuckles whitened around his datapad. His aides exchanged panicked glances.
And what assurance do we have that joint oversight won't become Ravik control?
The draft provides for an independent monitoring body, staffed equally by both species.
Stephen highlighted the relevant clause on the tablet, his fingers steady. The legal architecture was sound. The Kale delegation broke their rigid silence, a few leaning together to murmur notes. Voran's face was a mask of cold rage, his black eyes glinting like shards of obsidian. The hall no longer smelled of war. It smelled of possibility, fragile, hesitant, but real.
And the disputed moon of Lyson? What does this text claim about our sacred ground?
The Ravik acknowledge Kale cultural claim, but propose joint scientific access with preservation clauses.
That is not what I said. The moon is a Ravik asset. The human twist my words.
Quiet. I am speaking to the human, not you. Continue, translator. What is the proposed timeline for withdrawal from contested systems?
Phased over 3 standard years, with verification by neutral observers at each stage.
The Kale delegation leaned in, bioluminescent patterns flickering with cautious interest. Aides began taking notes.
And what safeguards prevent the Ravik from restarting their war machine in secret?
The agreement includes surprise inspection rights and a shared intelligence network.
Theris considered his words, her ancient eyes searching his face. The summit hung on a thread between war and something new.
You have committed treason against the Ravik Empire. Guards, arrest this human now.
Voran's finger jabbed at Stephen, his voice cracking with desperation. The war he had meticulously planned was slipping through his fingers.
He is under my protection as Summit Interpreter. Any move against him is an act of war against the Kale.
The Ravik guards hesitated, their weapons half raised, looking between Voran and the Kale soldiers, stepping forward with glowing staves.
I am unarmed, Ambassador. Killing me will not stop the truth you tried to bury.
I will see you broken, human. Your career is ash, your life ruined. You will never work again.
Theris nodded once. Her guards closed around Stephen, forming a living wall of bioluminescent blue and humming energy.
Then I will live knowing I didn't ignite a war. That's enough.
Voran trembled, his eyes black pits of hatred. The Ravik guards did not move. The Kale did not move. The hall held its breath. Between them all, Stephen stood alone, a fragile peace gathered at his feet. The standoff teetered. Then Theris spoke again, her voice cutting the silence like a blade.
I will not negotiate with Voran any longer. He has proven he seeks war, not peace. If this summit continues, it will be through the human.
Voran's aides huddled, their whispered panic a stark contrast to his frozen fury.
Then this summit is over. I will withdraw my delegation.
Then go. But know that the Kale will tell the galaxy why and who pushed us to the brink.
One of Voran's aides touched his arm, whispering frantically. Walking out would be political suicide without a war.
I will translate exactly what you say, Ambassador Voran, but I will not distort. If you speak truth, I will carry it faithfully.
Voran's aides pressed closer, their voices a frantic hiss of protocol and consequence. Voran's silver face crumpled with hatred, but he did not move toward the door. Theris's ultimatum hung in the air. Voran was trapped, negotiate through the human, or return home, to explain why he let the Kale walk away. Voran's hand slipped beneath the table, a subtle press of a hidden button, and the interpreter's headset on the stone began to hum. The headset crackled, a low frequency lancing through the air. Stephen, who had replaced it to catch the Kale harmonics, stiffened.
What? A kill switch? You put a compliance device in my equipment.
He tore the headset from his ears and flung it to the ground, the crack of plastic echoing off the pillars. The broken device lay on the stone, wires curling like startled snakes. The hall went dead silent.
A precaution. All Ravik equipment contains safeguards. It was merely a reminder of your place.
I am not a tool to be shocked into obedience. I am a free being.
Theris rose slowly, her bioluminescence flaring bright. She looked at Voran with icy contempt.
You have shamed your office, Voran. This summit will conclude with the human as honored mediator. Or it will conclude with your empire exposed.
Stephen stood over the broken headset, trembling not with fear, but with the cold fury of a man who had just been freed.
I will use nothing but my mind. No machine to shock, no script to poison. If you trust me, I will bridge this.
We do. Speak.
And I will translate your words too, Ambassador Voran. But I will not be your puppet.
He didn't wait for Voran's permission. Turning to Theris, he opened a channel that had never existed before, a human conscience bridging alien worlds.
Ambassador Theris states, the Kale High Council proposes a mutual ceasefire, effective upon signing, across all contested systems.
We also offer a phased withdrawal of all military assets from the Velor corridor, contingent on the Ravik doing the same.
The Ravik Empire is prepared to consider a temporary armistice, pending verification.
The Ravik delegation counters with a proposal for a temporary armistice and bilateral oversight committee.
The words were stilted, bruised by distrust, but they were honest. For the first time in centuries, Ravik and Kale were speaking without a war in their throats. Stephen stood in the center, no longer a tool but a bridge, and the bridge was holding.
The Kale propose a joint research initiative on Lysan, with full access and shared findings.
Ambassador Theris offers a joint research initiative on Lysan, open and collaborative.
Joint research? That implies our claim is secondary. Unacceptable.
The Ravik delegation suggests that joint research could be structured to recognize existing administrative roles.
We can accept a framework that acknowledges current oversight, provided it is time-bound and reviewed.
The Scale are willing to accept a time-bound framework that acknowledges current oversight with regular review.
A review every standard year, and the Oversight Board must have an even split.
The Ravik propose an annual review with an evenly split Oversight Board.
The exchange was halting. Each concession wrung from decades of distrust. But it was happening. The hall still held the stench of old wounds, but beneath it, something new stirred. Peace was not yet born, but it was conceived. A Ravik aide hurried to Voran's side, a slim datapad glowing with an urgent transmission from the High Council. The message read, Council demands progress. Concede or face replacement.
The Ravik Empire concedes the Kale claim to mining rights in Sector 7. Temporary.
The Ravik delegation concedes the Kale claim to mining rights in Sector 7 on a temporary basis.
We accept. In return, we offer Ravik observers full access to our processing facilities.
The Kale accept and offer Ravik observers full access to their processing facilities.
Agreed. For now.
The Ravik accept the Kale proposal on mining rights.
Voran's fingers trembled on the stone. He had just surrendered something his pride would never recover. But the framework was taking shape. One agreement at a time. The war machine was being disarmed by a man who refused to speak its language.
The Kale High Council has reviewed the terms. We agree. Let this war end.
Through Stephen, Voran's hand moved to the treaty datapad. His signature, cold and reluctant, appeared beside Theris's flowing glyph. A collective exhale swept the hall. The Kale delegation rose to their feet, bioluminescence flaring in a wave of quiet triumph.
It's done. I didn't speak the words they gave me. I spoke the ones that saved them.
The headset still lay on the polished stone, forgotten under the weight of a peace it had tried to prevent. The Kale aides wept openly, their tears glowing faintly on their cheeks. For the first time in decades, they allowed themselves to believe. Theris turned to Stephen, her ancient eyes meeting his. She gave a single nod, the highest honor her people could offer.
History will forget my name, but it won't forget that a quiet no can be louder than a war.
Outside the hall, the first news flares burst across the Galnet. Ravik-Kale war averted. Human interpreter, the unlikely key. Inside, Stephen stood alone for a moment, the treaty beside him, the broken headset at his feet, and a galaxy exhaling around him as the hall began to empty. Voran stalked towards Stephen, his silver face a mask of cold hatred.
You are a dead man in Ravik space. You will never work again. Your name will be poison.
I am not your man. My conscience isn't for sale.
Voran's guards flanked him, but the ambassador only turned away. Robes whispering his defeat, Theris approached, her bioluminescence warm. She placed a gentle hand on Stephen's arm.
You have saved millions. The Kale would be honored if you would serve as our cultural liaison with full respect.
Ambassador, I am grateful, but I am not a translator for hire. I just refuse to speak when the words were wrong. I need to find out what's next for me, without a headset, without a script.
Then go with our thanks. And know that you have a home among the Kale, always.
Stephen nodded, and as he turned away, his eyes glistened. Not for sorrow, but for the weight that finally lifted. He bent and retrieved the shattered headset from the cold stone, cradling it in his palm.
It was only a tool, but it was designed to make me forget my own conscience.
He set it down gently on the table, next to the ID badge that had defined his professional life. His fingers lingered for a moment, then lifted. He straightened and turned toward the great doors, his footsteps echoing in the silence. He didn't look back. The headset lay on the table, alone in a golden beam, a fallen relic of a darker doctrine. From that day, no interpreter was ever just a tool again. The galaxy would remember. The headset remained in the hall, a monument to a single, quiet refusal. Stephen Merrick walked out into a quiet starlight, carrying no title, no headset, only the weight of a piece he had chosen. Across the galaxy, news ribbons blazed. Ravik-Kale war averted. The translator who wouldn't. Weeks later, Stephen Merrick walked through a bustling starport, his face unknown in the crowd. He paused before a departure board, stars beyond the glass listed as destinations. A small smile touched his lips, not triumph, but peace. In the silent hall, his headset remained, a fallen relic, under a golden beam. A placard beside it read, "Here rested the tool that refused to be a weapon." Stephen watched the ships, carrying no baggage but the weight of a war. He stopped, his reflection in the glass merged with the stars. A man no longer defined by a role. The great hall stood empty, its walls steeped in the memory of a quiet no. And as he walked toward the boarding gate, the silence followed him, a companion now. They called him the translator who wouldn't, the one who set down his headset and refused to light the fuse. But that name misses the truth. He didn't refuse to speak. He refused to be a weapon. In the silence where war would have been born, Stephen Merrick built a bridge. The galaxy learned that day that a human interpreter was never just a conduit. They were sentient beings with moral weight, capable of conscience and refusal. And that refusal, as simple as setting down a tool, was enough to avert a war. The Ravik never forgave him. History did. From that day, the profession of interpreter was never again treated as just a function. In the end, Stephen Merrick walked away. But the headset remained, a monument to a quiet no that echoed louder than any war. And the galaxy, for the first time, understood. The most powerful words are sometimes the ones never spoken.